The cold was the first thing Jake Morrison felt. It crept through his bones like ice water, making his muscles shake. His eyes opened slowly, blinking against bright white lights that hurt to look at. The world around him was blurry and strange. Jake tried to move, but his body felt heavy and slow. His arms and legs barely responded to his commands. He was lying in some kind of pod made of smooth metal and glass. Tubes were attached to his arms and chest. Strange green liquid dripped from them onto the floor. "He is awake," said a voice, but it was not a human voice. It sounded rough and deep, like rocks grinding together. Jake turned his head toward the sound. His vision was getting clearer now. What he saw made his heart race with fear. A tall creature stood nearby. It looked like a giant lizard walking on two legs. Its skin was dark green and covered in scales. Yellow eyes stared at him with curiosity. "Do not be afraid, human," the creature said. Its mouth was full of sharp teeth. "We are here to help you." Jake wanted to speak, but his throat was dry and sore. He made a croaking sound instead. The lizard creature came closer and helped him. "Sit up." Jake's head spun as the blood rushed through his body. "Water," Jake managed to whisper. The creature handed him a cup filled with clear liquid. Jake drank it slowly. It tasted strange, but made his throat feel better. He looked around the room he was in. It was unlike anything he had ever seen. The walls curved in odd shapes and glowed with soft blue light. Everything looked alien and wrong. "Where am I?" Jake asked. "You are aboard our ship, the Unity Star," the creature replied. "My name is Commander Vexistar of the Zephyrian Fleet. We found your vessel drifting in space 3 days ago." Jake's memory came back in pieces. He remembered his ship, the Starbound. They had been traveling to a new planet to start a colony. Then there was the storm. A terrible cosmic storm that had damaged their systems and knocked them off course. "How long was I asleep?" Jake asked. Commander Vextar was quiet for a moment. His yellow eyes looked sad. "Human, you have been in cryo sleep for 200 years. The words hit Jake like a punch to the stomach. 200 years, everyone he had ever known was dead. His wife, his children, his friends, all gone. "That cannot be true," Jake said, shaking his head. "That is impossible." "I am sorry, but it is true," Vexitar said. "We found records in your ship's computer. The year you went to sleep was 2157. It is now 2357. Jake felt sick. He leaned forward and put his head in his hands. Everything he had lived for was gone. His whole world was in the past. "There is more you must know," Vexitar said gently. "Your species, humans, they are believed to be extinct." Jake looked up sharply. "What do you mean extinct?" "Earth was destroyed 150 years ago," Vextar explained. "There was a war with machines called the Devourers. They consumed your planet and turned it into energy. No humans have been seen since then. You may be the last of your kind." Jake could not breathe. His chest felt tight and his hands shook. The last human in the galaxy. It was too much to understand. The door to the room opened with a soft hiss. Another alien entered. This one was smaller and had lighter green skin. It wore a white coat like a doctor. "This is Dr. Luna Vasquez," Vexitar said. "She has been studying your biology while you recovered." Dr. Vasquez came closer and looked at Jake with interest. "Fascinating," she said in a softer voice than Vextar's. "Your cellular structure is remarkable. We have studied human records from before the extinction. You are different from those samples." "Different how?" Jake asked. "Your body shows signs of adaptation," Dr. Vasquez explained. "The cosmic radiation from the storm that damaged your ship mixed with the cryochemicals. It has changed you at the genetic level." Jake did not understand what she meant. He just wanted to go home. But there was no home to go to anymore. "Can I see my ship?" Jake asked. Vextar nodded. "Of course, but first you must regain your strength. You have been asleep for a very long time." Over the next few hours, Jake learned more about where he was. The Unity Star was part of something called the Galactic Unity. It was a group of different alien species that worked together for peace. There were hundreds of different kinds of aliens in the galaxy. Jake met some of the other crew members. There was Clicketh, who looked like a giant insect with multiple arms. He was the ship's engineer and spoke in quick clicking sounds. There was also Navigator Wisp, who was made of glowing gas and could barely be seen except as a faint outline. They all treated Jake like he was special, but also like he was fragile. They spoke quietly around him and watched him carefully. Jake felt like an animal in a zoo. Dr. Vasquez ran many tests on Jake. She took samples of his blood and scanned his body with strange machines. She seemed excited by what she found but would not tell Jake what it meant. "Your metabolism is operating at 3 times the normal human rate," she told him. "Your cellular regeneration is remarkable. Small cuts heal in minutes instead of days." Jake had noticed this too. A scratch on his hand from the cryopod had disappeared within an hour. He felt stronger and more alert than he ever had before. That night, Jake could not sleep. He walked through the halls of the alien ship, looking at the strange technology and curved walls. Everything reminded him that he was far from home and alone. He found a window that looked out into space. The stars were beautiful but cold. Somewhere out there, Earth used to be. Now it was just empty space. "Unable to sleep?" asked a voice behind him. Jake turned to see Vexitar approaching. The big lizard moved quietly for his size. "I keep thinking this is all a dream," Jake said. "That I will wake up and be back on the Starbound with my crew." "I understand," Vexitar said. "Loss is difficult for any species. But you are not truly alone. The Unity will help you find your place in this galaxy." "What place?" Jake asked bitterly. "I am the last human, a living fossil. What purpose do I have?" Vexitar was quiet for a moment. Then he said something that surprised Jake. "Perhaps you are not the last," he said. "The galaxy is vast. There may be other survivors in hidden places, and perhaps your purpose is greater than you know." Jake did not understand what Vexitar meant, but there was something in the alien's voice that made him feel a small spark of hope. As they stood looking out at the stars, Jake felt a strange tingling in his hands. The lights in the hallway flickered for a moment. Both Jake and Vexitar noticed it. "Did you see that?" Jake asked. Vexitar nodded slowly. His yellow eyes looked thoughtful. "Yes? Very interesting indeed." Jake did not know it yet, but something was changing inside him. The cosmic radiation and cryochemicals had done more than just preserve his life. They had awakened something that had been sleeping in human DNA for millions of years, something that would shock the entire galaxy. 3 days had passed since Jake Morrison woke up from his long sleep. He was getting used to life on the alien ship, but everything still felt strange and wrong. The food tasted different, the air smelled odd, and the sounds the ship made were nothing like his old vessel. Jake spent most of his time in the medical bay with Dr. Luna Vasquez. She was fascinated by him and ran test after test. Jake did not mind. It gave him something to do besides think about his lost world. "Your healing rate continues to increase," Dr. Vasquez told him as she looked at her readings. "This cut from yesterday should have taken a week to heal. It is already gone." Jake looked at his arm where she had taken a small sample. There was no mark at all. It was like nothing had happened. "The energy readings from your body are also growing stronger," she added. "I do not understand what is causing it." Jake felt different too. He had more energy than ever before. He did not need much sleep and barely felt tired. Sometimes his hands would tingle with a strange warmth. "I need to help with something," Jake told her. "I cannot just sit here all day being studied." Dr. Vasquez nodded. "Commander Vexitar said you could help Engineer Clickth with repairs, but be careful. Some of our technology can be dangerous." Jake found Clicketh in the engine room. The insect alien was working on a large machine that hummed with power. Sparks flew from broken wires and panels. "Human, Jake?" Clicketh clicked excitedly. "You help fix quantum drive. Very broken after asteroid field." The engine room was hot and filled with the smell of burning metal. Jake could see that many systems were damaged. Warning lights flashed red everywhere. "What do you need me to do?" Jake asked. Clicketh handed him some tools. "Hold wires steady while Clicketh connects power coupling. Very important not touch exposed parts. We'll kill most species instantly." Jake nodded and took his position. He held the thick cable while Clicketh worked to attach it to a power junction. The cable was warm in Jake's hands and seemed to vibrate with energy. "Almost finished," Clicketh said. "Just need to connect final coupling." But something went wrong. Clicketh's tool slipped and the power coupling broke free. Electricity arced through the air. Jake saw the bright flash coming toward him but could not move away fast enough. The electrical charge hit him full force. It should have killed him, instantly. Instead, something incredible happened. Jake felt the electricity flow into his body, but it did not hurt him. Instead, it felt warm and good, like drinking hot soup on a cold day. The energy spread through his arms and chest. His whole body began to glow with a soft blue light. Clicketh made a sound of shock and dropped his tools. "Impossible. Humans should be dead." The broken power coupling was still shooting electricity, but now it was flowing into Jake instead of arcing wildly. Jake held onto the cable and felt the ship's power systems surge through him. All around the engine room, machines that had been broken suddenly came back to life. Warning lights turned from red to green. The quantum drive's humming grew louder and stronger. "What is happening to me?" Jake asked. His voice sounded different, deeper and more powerful. Dr. Vasquez came running into the engine room. Behind her was Commander Vextar and several other crew members. They all stopped and stared at Jake, who was still glowing with absorbed energy. "Incredible," Dr. Vasquez whispered. "He is absorbing the electrical discharge and converting it to usable power." Jake slowly let go of the cable. The electricity stopped flowing, but he still glowed softly. He felt more alive and strong than ever before. "How do you feel?" Dr. Vasquez asked. "Good," Jake said. "Really good, like I could run for miles or lift heavy things." Commander Vextar stepped forward. His yellow eyes were wide with amazement. "Human Jake, what you just did should be impossible. That much electricity would kill even the strongest Zephyrian warrior." "I do not understand it either," Jake said. The glow was starting to fade from his skin. "It felt natural, like my body was meant to do this." Over the next few hours, word spread throughout the ship about what Jake had done. Aliens came to see him, whispering among themselves in their strange languages. Some looked amazed, others seemed frightened. Dr. Vasquez ran more tests on Jake. This time, the results were even more shocking. "Your cellular structure has changed completely in just the past few days," she told him. "Your cells can now store and manipulate different types of energy, electrical, thermal, even some forms of radiation." "What does that mean?" Jake asked. "It means you are no longer fully human, at least not as we understand humans," she explained. "The cosmic storm that damaged your ship, combined with 200 years in cryosleep, has caused you to evolve. You are something new." Jake did not know how to feel about this. Was he still human if his body could do impossible things? Was he becoming something else entirely? Navigator Wisp floated into the medical bay, the gas being spoke in a voice like wind through leaves. "News travels fast through galaxy," Wisp said. "Other ships asking about human with strange powers. Unity Command wants to know what happened here." Commander Vextar looked concerned. "We should be careful about who we tell. Not all species in the galaxy are friendly. If the wrong people learn about Jake's abilities, they might try to use him as a weapon." But it was too late to keep it secret. Within days, messages were coming in from all over the galaxy. Scientists wanted to study Jake. Military leaders wanted to recruit him. Some species were excited about the discovery while others were afraid. "The Nautolan Admiral Rexthon requests meeting with human," Vextar told Jake. "The Nautolans have powerful military. They want to discuss your abilities." "What kind of discussion?" Jake asked. "The kind where they want to see if you can be used in battle," Vextar said grimly. Jake also learned about other species that had heard about him. The Luminari were beings made of pure energy who wanted to understand how his powers worked. The crystalline architects were interested in how his abilities might help them build better technology. Not all the attention was welcome. Some species saw Jake as a threat. They remembered stories about humans from before Earth was destroyed. Humans had been warriors and explorers who were not afraid to fight when necessary. Many fear that more humans might develop these powers, Dr. Vasquez told Jake. They worry about what that could mean for the balance of power in the galaxy. Jake understood their fear, but it made him angry too. He had never asked for these abilities. He just wanted to find other human survivors and maybe make a new home somewhere. To test his growing powers, Jake volunteered to help repair more of the ship's systems. He found that he could absorb energy from damaged power cells and use it to jumpstart broken machinery. He could also transfer energy to other systems, making them work better than before. The most amazing discovery came when a small alien child was brought to the medical bay. The child was from a trading ship they encountered. It had been badly hurt in an accident and was dying. "We cannot save her," Dr. Vasquez said sadly. "Her species' biology is too different from ours. We do not have the right medicine." Jake felt terrible seeing the small creature suffering. Without thinking, he reached out and touched the child's hand. He felt energy flow from his body into hers. The blue glow appeared around both of them. Slowly, the child's wounds began to heal. Her breathing became easier, and the pain left her face. Within minutes, she was completely healthy again. Everyone in the medical bay stared in shock. Jake had not just absorbed energy this time. He had given his own life force to heal someone else. "This changes everything," Dr. Vasquez whispered. "If you can heal others by sharing your energy, you are not just evolved, you are miraculous." But Jake felt weak and dizzy after healing the child. Using his power to help others took something out of him. He realized that his abilities came with a cost. As news of the healing spread through the galaxy, even more attention focused on Jake. Religious groups declared him blessed by their gods. Scientists called him the next step in evolution. Military leaders saw him as the ultimate weapon. Jake just wanted to understand what was happening to him and why. But deep inside, he was starting to realize that his powers might be more than just random evolution. There might be a reason why he had developed these abilities now, at this time in galactic history. Something was coming. Something that would require every bit of power he could develop. And the galaxy was about to discover just how much power one human could hold. Jake Morrison had been awake for 2 weeks now. His powers were growing stronger every day, but so was the attention from across the galaxy. Ships arrived daily at the Unity station where they had docked. Everyone wanted to see the human with impossible abilities. Jake was in the observation deck when the alarm started blaring. Red lights flashed throughout the station. Commander Vextar's voice came over the speakers. "All personnel to emergency stations. Unknown vessels detected. At the outer edge of the system. Configuration matches Devourer scouts." Jake's blood went cold. The Devourers were the machines that had destroyed Earth. Dr. Vasquez had told him they had been quiet for decades, but now they were here. "They are scanning for something," Navigator Wisp reported. "Energy signature analysis suggests they are looking for specific power readings." Jake realized with horror what that meant. The Devourers were looking for him. His unique energy signature was like a beacon calling to them. "We need to leave immediately," Commander Vextar ordered. "Prepare for emergency jump." But before they could escape, a new ship arrived. It was small and fast, painted in dark colors that helped it hide in space. A woman's voice came over the communication system. "Unity Star, this is General Kate Sullivan. Requesting permission to dock. I have information about the Devourer scouts." Jake's heart stopped. Sullivan was a human name. After 2 weeks of believing he was the last human alive, another one had appeared. "Human?" Commander Vexistar asked in surprise. "Are you certain?" "I am human," the woman replied. "And I need to speak with Jake Morrison immediately. Both our lives depend on it." Within minutes, Jake was standing in the docking bay waiting for the stranger to arrive. His hands were shaking with excitement and fear. Another human. It seemed impossible. The airlock opened and a woman stepped out. She was tall and strong, with short brown hair and scars on her face and arms. She wore combat armor that looked like it had seen many battles. Her eyes were hard and tired, but when she saw Jake, they softened slightly. "So you are the one causing all the trouble," she said with a small smile. "I am Kate Sullivan. I was a general in the Earth Defense Forces before the planet fell." "You were alive when Earth was destroyed?" Jake asked. "I was off-world when it happened," Kate said. "I have been fighting the Devourers ever since." "There are other human survivors, Jake. Not many, but we are not extinct." Jake felt a wave of relief wash over him. He was not alone after all. "How many?" he asked. Kate's face grew sad. "Maybe a few thousand scattered across the galaxy. Hidden colonies, ships in deep space. Individuals like me who have been living in the shadows. The Devourers have been hunting us for decades. Commander Vextar joined them. General Sullivan, you said you had information about the Scouts." "The Devourers went into hibernation after they consumed Earth," Kate explained. "They have been dormant for over 100 years, but something woke them up 2 weeks ago. A massive energy surge that they detected across the galaxy." She looked directly at Jake. "That was you, was it not? When you first used your powers?" Jake nodded. "I absorbed electricity from the ship's power system, but I did not know it would alert them. The Devourers are drawn to unusual energy sources," Kate said. "They consume organic life and convert it to power. Your ability to manipulate energy makes you very interesting to them." Dr. Vasquez entered the docking bay. "General Sullivan, I have been studying Jake's abilities. His power seems to be growing exponentially. Could he be strong enough to fight the Devourers?" Kate looked at Jake carefully. "Maybe, but you need to understand what we are dealing with. The Devourers are not just machines. They are a collective intelligence that has been consuming worlds for thousands of years. They turned Earth into a ball of molten metal in just 3 days." "How do we fight something like that?" Jake asked. "We have been trying to find a way for decades," Kate said. "The Devourers convert organic matter into energy. But what if someone could reverse that process? What if someone could absorb their energy and turn it back into life?" Jake understood what she was suggesting. "You think I could do that?" "I think you might be the only one who can," Kate said. "The question is whether you would survive the attempt." The ship shook suddenly. More alarms sounded. Commander Vextar received a message on his communicator. "The Devourer scouts are moving closer," he reported. "They will be here in 6 hours." "We need to run," Kate said. "I know places we can hide, secret bases where other human survivors are waiting." But Jake had a different idea. "What if we do not run? What if we face them?" Everyone stared at him like he was crazy. "Jake, you are not ready," Kate said. "You have only had these powers for 2 weeks. The Devourers have been perfecting their technology for millennia. But I am getting stronger," Jake said. "And maybe running is not the answer. Maybe it is time to fight back." Dr. Vasquez ran new scans on Jake. His energy levels have increased again. The stress of knowing about the Devourers seems to be triggering more evolution in his cells. Over the next few hours, Jake learned more about the human survivors. Kate told him about the hidden colonies scattered across the galaxy. Small groups of humans living in secret, always afraid of being discovered. "We have been trying to rebuild," Kate said. "But it is hard when you are always hiding. Children grow up never knowing what it is like to live freely." "Why did the Devourers destroy Earth?" Jake asked. "Because humans were becoming too powerful," Kate explained. "We were developing technology that could threaten them. They decided to eliminate us before we became a real danger. But they failed," Dr. Vasquez said. "Some humans survived. And now Jake has evolved beyond what they expected." Kate looked at Jake with new respect. "Your powers are not random, are they? They developed for a reason." "What do you mean?" Jake asked. "Evolution does not happen without cause," Kate said. "Your body changed because it needed to. Maybe the galaxy needs you to be able to fight the Devourers." Jake felt the truth of her words. Deep inside, he knew his powers were not an accident. They were a response to a threat that needed to be stopped. The other human survivors, Jake said. Could they develop powers too? Kate was quiet for a moment. Some of them have been showing signs. Small things, faster healing, better reflexes, increased strength, but nothing like what you can do. What if being near me makes them stronger? Jake asked. What if my energy can awaken their abilities? Dr. Vasquez looked excited. That is possible. Your energy signature is unique. It could trigger evolutionary changes in other humans. Then we need to find them, Jake said. We need to bring the survivors together. That is dangerous, Kate warned. Gathering humans in one place would make us easy targets. Or it would make us strong enough to fight back, Jake said. The Devourer scouts arrived sooner than expected. 3 dark ships appeared at the edge of the system. They were unlike anything Jake had ever seen. The ships looked like they were made of living metal that moved and shifted. They are scanning everything, Navigator Wisp reported. Looking for the energy source. Jake made a decision. He walked to the communications console and opened a channel to the Devourer ships. This is Jake Morrison, he said. I am the one you are looking for. I am human, and I am not afraid of you. The response came immediately. It was not a voice, but pure data transmitted directly into his mind. The message was simple and terrifying. Human energy signature confirmed. Prepare for harvesting. Resistance is futile. But Jake felt something else in the message. Fear. The Devourers were afraid of him. They had come to destroy him quickly, before he became too powerful. They are scared, Jake said to the others. They know I am a threat. That makes them more dangerous, Kate warned. Scared enemies fight harder. Jake looked out at the Devourer ships. They were beautiful in a terrible way, but they represented everything he hated. They had destroyed his world and hunted his people for centuries. Let them come, Jake said. His body began to glow with stored energy. It is time they learned what humans can really do. The war for humanity's future was about to begin, and Jake Morrison was ready to show the galaxy that humans were far from extinct. The 3 Devourer scout ships moved closer to the Unity station. Jake could feel their presence like a cold weight pressing against his mind. General Kate Sullivan stood beside him in the command center, her face grim with years of fighting. These machines. We have maybe 2 hours before they attack, Kate said. The scouts will study us first, then call for reinforcements. Commander Vextar was coordinating with other Unity ships in the area. We have 12 vessels ready to fight, but our weapons barely scratch Devourer armor. Jake watched the enemy ships on the main screen. They moved with purpose, like hunting, animals closing in on prey. His hands tingled with energy, but he was not sure if he was strong enough yet. I need to train more, Jake said. Can you teach me to fight like you do? Kate nodded. We have time for the basics. But Jake, fighting Devourers is not like fighting people. They adapt to everything you do. What works once will not work again. They went to the station's training room. Kate showed Jake how to focus his energy into attacks instead of just absorbing power. She taught him to create shields and to move his energy through his body quickly. The key is control, Kate said. Raw power is not enough. You need to be precise. Jake practiced creating bolts of energy. At first they were wild and hard to aim, but after an hour, he could hit targets across the room. The energy blasts left scorch marks on the metal walls. Better, Kate said. Now try making a shield. Jake concentrated and formed a wall of blue energy in front of him. Kate threw training weapons at it. They bounced off harmlessly. Good. But you are using too much power, Kate said. You need to save your strength for the real fight. While they trained, Dr. Vasquez was studying the Devourer ships with her sensors. She discovered something important. The scouts are sending data back to somewhere else, she told Commander Vextar. There's a much larger ship hiding behind the system's moon. How large? Vextar asked. Bigger than anything in the Unity fleet, Dr. Vasquez said. It could be their main harvesting vessel. Kate stopped training when she heard this news. Her face went pale. A harvester ship. I have only seen one before when Earth was destroyed. They can consume an entire planet in days. Then we cannot let it get close, Jake said. We cannot stop it with conventional weapons, Kate replied. But maybe, if you were strong enough, you could absorb its power core. What would happen to me? Jake asked. Kate was quiet for a moment. I do not know. No one has ever tried to absorb that much energy before. The first attack came sooner than expected. The Devourer scouts launched small fighter craft that swarmed toward the Unity station. These fighters were not piloted by living beings. They were extensions of the Devourer collective mind. Jake joined the defense in a small Unity fighter with Kate as his co-pilot. His energy powers let him overcharge the ship's weapons and shields. They flew into battle together. There, Kate pointed at a group of enemy fighters. Try to disable them instead of destroying them. Jake fired energy bolts at the Devourer craft. Instead of exploding, they went dark and drifted in space. He was draining their power instead of destroying them. Incredible, Kate said. You are stealing their energy even at a distance. The battle went better than expected. Jake's ability to drain power made the Devourer fighters easy targets. Soon the space around the station was filled with dead enemy craft. But the real test was yet to come. The massive Devourer harvester emerged from behind the moon. It was a dark shape the size of a small city, covered in weapons and energy collectors. Just looking at it made Jake feel sick. That is the ship that destroyed Earth, Kate said quietly. I was in a fighter just like this one when I watched it tear my world apart. The harvester began charging its main weapon. Jake could feel the enormous energy buildup even from far away. When that weapon fired, it would destroy the Unity station and everyone on it. I have to get closer, Jake said. Jake, no, Kate said. It is too dangerous. But Jake was already flying toward the massive ship. He could feel its power calling to him like a magnet. The harvester was full of energy stolen from countless worlds and civilizations. The enemy ship fired smaller weapons at Jake's fighter. He used his powers to absorb the energy blasts, making his ship's shield stronger. Kate helped him navigate through the deadly fire. There, she pointed to a section of the harvester's hull. That is where the power core is located, but the armor is too thick to penetrate. Jake had an idea. Instead of trying to break through the armor, he reached out with his power and began draining energy directly through it. The harvester's lights began to flicker. It is working, Kate said in amazement. You are actually draining a Devourer harvester. But the effort was enormous. Jake felt like he was trying to drink an ocean. The harvester had consumed the energy of dozens of worlds. It was more power than any living being should be able to handle. Jake's body began to glow brighter than ever before. Energy crackled around him like lightning. The fighter's instruments went crazy as power flowed through him. Jake, you need to stop, Kate said. You are taking in too much. But Jake could not stop. Once he started draining the harvester, the process took on a life of its own. Energy poured into him in an endless stream. He felt like he was going to explode. Then something unexpected happened. Jake felt other minds touching his. Human minds. Across the galaxy, other human survivors were feeling his power and responding to it. On hidden worlds and secret ships, humans who had been hiding for decades suddenly felt a change. Their own dormant abilities began to awaken. Strength, speed, energy manipulation, healing, powers that had been sleeping in human DNA for millions of years. Kate, Jake said through gritted teeth, I can feel them, the other humans. They are changing. Kate looked at her scanner. I am getting reports from across the galaxy. Human colonies are sending emergency signals, but not distress calls. They are saying their people are evolving. The harvester was fighting back now. It turned all its weapons on Jake's small fighter, but the energy blasts only made him stronger. He was absorbing everything they threw at him. Commander Vextar's voice came over the radio. Jake, the harvester is losing power. Its main weapon cannot charge. Jake realized he had a choice. He could keep draining the harvester until it was dead, but the process might destroy him. Or he could release some of the energy and try to survive. He thought about all the humans who were depending on him, the survivors who had been hiding for so long. the children who deserved to grow up free. He could not let them down. Jake made his decision. Instead of keeping all the energy for himself, he began sharing it. He reached out across space to every human he could sense and gave them a portion of his power. On a dozen hidden worlds, human survivors suddenly found themselves stronger and faster than they had ever been. Some could move objects with their minds. Others could heal injuries with a touch. A few could even manipulate energy like Jake, though not as powerfully. "The network is growing," Kate said in wonder. "You are connecting all the human survivors together." The Devourer Harvester was now completely drained. It drifted in space, dark and powerless. For the first time in centuries, a Devourer ship had been defeated without being destroyed. Jake collapsed in his seat, exhausted but alive. He had survived absorbing the power of a harvester, but more importantly, he had awakened abilities in humans across the galaxy. "This is just the beginning," Kate said. "When the Devourers realize what has happened, they will come in force." "Let them come," Jake said. His body still glowed faintly with residual energy. They wanted to harvest human power. Now they will see what human power can really do. Across the galaxy, hidden human colonies were receiving the same message. It was time to stop hiding. It was time to fight back. And for the first time in over a century, humans had the power to win. The age of hiding was over. The age of human resurgence had begun. The Devourer response came faster than anyone expected. Within hours of Jake draining their harvester ship, the entire enemy fleet emerged from deep space. Hundreds of dark vessels filled the star system, led by a massive world ship that was bigger than most moons. Jake stood on the bridge of the Unity Star with General Kate Sullivan and Commander Vextar. Through the main window, they could see the approaching enemy fleet. It was the largest gathering of Devourer ships anyone had ever witnessed. "They are not taking any chances this time," Kate said grimly. "That world ship has enough firepower to destroy entire solar systems." Reports were coming in from across the galaxy. Human survivors on dozens of hidden worlds were feeling the effects of Jake's power sharing. Many had developed amazing abilities overnight. Some could create force fields. Others could heal with a touch or move objects with their minds. "The humans are organizing," Dr. Vasquez reported. "They are coming out of hiding and gathering together. But will it be enough?" Jake felt different now. Absorbing the harvesters, energy had changed him again. He could sense every human in the galaxy like points of light in his mind. Their combined power flowed through him, making him stronger than ever before. "We need to evacuate the station," Commander Vextar said. "The world ship's main weapon could destroy us from here, but Jake had other plans." "No, we stand and fight. If we run now, the Devourers will just follow us and destroy everything we care about." Kate looked at him with concern. "Jake, even with your powers, you cannot fight an entire fleet alone." "I will not be alone," Jake said. He closed his eyes and reached out through space to all the awakened humans. "Everyone who can hear me, lend me your strength. Together we can end this threat forever." Across the galaxy, thousands of humans responded. They opened their minds and let their energy flow into Jake. On hidden colonies and secret ships, people who had been afraid for decades finally had hope. Jake's body began to glow brighter than it ever had before. The combined power of every awakened human was flowing through him. He felt their courage, their determination, and their desperate hope for freedom. The Devourer world ship fired its main weapon. A beam of pure destruction lanced across space toward the Unity Station. It had enough power to crack a planet in half. Jake stepped forward and raised his hands. Instead of trying to dodge the beam, he absorbed it. The terrible energy flowed into him like water into a sponge. The station's shields flickered but held. "Impossible," whispered Navigator Wisp. No being should be able to absorb that much destructive power. But Jake was no longer just one being. He was connected to every human survivor in the galaxy. Their combined will gave him strength beyond anything the Devourers had faced before. The enemy fleet began firing everything they had at Jake. Energy weapons, missile barrages, and exotic technologies that could destroy entire fleets. Jake absorbed it all, his body becoming a living star as power flowed through him. "The Devourers are confused," reported Engineer Click. "Their targeting systems cannot understand what Jake has become." Jake could feel the collective mind of the Devourers pressing against his thoughts. For the first time in millions of years, they were experiencing something they had never felt before: fear. "You are afraid," Jake said, his voice carrying across space to every Devourer vessel. "You should be." The world ship tried to retreat, but Jake would not let it escape. He reached out with his power and began draining every ship in the fleet simultaneously. Dark vessels that had terrorized the galaxy for eons suddenly found their power bleeding away. "Jake, be careful," Kate warned. "If you absorb too much, it could destroy you." Jake knew she was right. The energy of an entire Devourer fleet was beyond anything any living being should contain. But he also knew this was their only chance to end the threat forever. Instead of keeping all the power for himself, Jake began doing something the Devourers never expected. He started converting their stored energy back into life. The Devourers had consumed thousands of worlds over millions of years. All that stolen life energy was locked inside their ships and machines. Jake reached into that dark power and began transforming it back into its original form. Across space, amazing things began to happen. Planets that had been dead for centuries suddenly bloomed with new life. Destroyed worlds reformed from cosmic dust. Species that had been extinct for millennia were reborn. "Look," Dr. Vasquez pointed at her scanner. "Jake is not just draining them. He is reversing everything they have done." The Devourer world ship began to crack apart as its stolen energy was torn away. The collective mind that had controlled the machines for so long was screaming in panic and rage. They had never imagined that their victims could fight back like this. "Impossible," the Devourer voice spoke directly into Jake's mind. "Organic life forms cannot wield this much power." "You are wrong," Jake replied. "You never understood what life really is. It is not just energy to be consumed. It is hope, courage, love, and the will to protect others. That is where my power comes from." The connection Jake shared with humans across the galaxy grew stronger. People who had hidden in fear for decades were standing up and fighting back. On world after world, human survivors were working together with their new abilities to rebuild what had been lost. Jake felt their determination flow through him. Every human who had ever suffered under Devourer attacks, every child who had grown up in hiding, every family that had been separated by war. Their combined will was unstoppable. The world ship made one final, desperate attack. It opened every weapon port and fired with everything it had left. The barrage was so intense it could have destroyed a star system. Jake did not dodge or defend. Instead, he welcomed the attack. All that destructive energy flowed into him, adding to the power he already controlled. He had become something new, something the universe had never seen before. With a thought, Jake released all the accumulated energy at once. But instead of using it as a weapon, he transformed it into pure creation. The wave of power spread across the galaxy, bringing life to dead worlds and healing the damage done by centuries of Devourer attacks. The enemy fleet simply ceased to exist. Not destroyed, but converted back into the life energy they had stolen. The Devourer collective mind, which had terrorized the galaxy for so long, finally fell silent forever. Jake floated in space, his body now made of pure energy instead of flesh and blood. He had survived the transformation, but he was no longer entirely human. He had become something greater, a guardian of all life in the galaxy. "Jake," Kate's voice reached him through the communication system. "Are you still you?" Jake smiled, even though he no longer had a physical face. "I am still me, Kate. Just more than I was before." Across the galaxy, humans were emerging from their hiding places. The colonies that had been secret for so long were now broadcasting their locations freely. Children who had never seen open sky were finally able to play in sunlight, and on a small blue world in the same system where Earth had once been, something miraculous happened. The planet reformed from cosmic dust and debris, brought back to life by Jake's power. It was not the same Earth that had been destroyed, but it was a new home for humanity. Jake used his new form to guide the rebuilding. He could exist anywhere in the galaxy instantly, helping humans settle new worlds and teaching them to use their awakened abilities responsibly. He had become the guardian he was always meant to be. The age of hiding was over. The age of fear had ended. Humanity had not just survived extinction, they had evolved beyond it. And in the vast expanse of space, Jake Morrison watched over them all, the last human who had become the first of something entirely new. The galaxy was safe, and it would never face such darkness again.